This beast, deliveries. Talk to me about how transformational this might be for the company.
It's a historic moment. I mean, it's 4 years in the making, and I think the reason it's important in terms of this could be another growth vehicle for Musk and Tesla, and it also just shows what's happened. 313 area code, GM, Ford peeling back a little on EVs. Tesla is doubling down, and I think this is an important moment. And you go back over the years, many times been counted out, but yet they've come out in a flex the muscles moment.
I want to talk margins a little bit more with you, but just on the point you made, bringing up GM and Ford, are we finding out that people just want Teslas? They don't want EVs?
Look, I think it's a serious question here because, wanting an EV versus do you actually just want a Tesla? And I think you're starting to see now a moderation in terms of EV demand. Now, clearly, Tesla's had the price war that we've talked about in China. That's definitely, left a bit of a stain. But I do think from a scale and scope perspective, you look at Fisker reducing guidance again today, no one could match the scale and scope of Musk and Tesla. And I think that lead continues to further be there. And I think that's what's happened, a little humble pie maybe with traditional automakers.
Well, John Lawler was on yesterday, CFO of Ford, and he was talking about how there was a different audience for the initial Teslas because it was the first adopters. And they were willing to pay a price premium, and they were willing to come in, and they were Tesla adopters. The ones who are coming in now are looking for price, value, quality, et cetera. It is a different pool or that can be pulled away more aggressively. In that kind of environment, does Tesla's margin story start to get eroded?
I think, and John talked about it, I think right now that's the balancing act. Because if you look from a margin perspective, it's really been volume over margins. In the street, so far that's been the right strategy. Next 2-3 quarters, you need to see margins trough out, level out here. But when you look at Cybertruck, look, essentially they'll be losing, let's say, 30,000, 40,000 per vehicle for the next year and a half. Then it starts to become profitable. But that is the near-term pain for long-term gain that they need to do in what continues to be this green tidal wave.
To John's point when he's saying people just want a Tesla, I wonder how much that's people wanting to ride Elon Musk's wave and how much that was really the feeling a number of years ago. How much some of the recent high-profile discussion around Elon Musk with X, with his colorful interview and commentary toward advertisers, does that draw people in or push them away?
I think there's still a question there because to some it emboldens them. In terms of Musk, what he represents, he's the anti. That's I affiliate with the Tesla. But then on the other hand, you alienate. And the problem for I think Tesla investors, when you sell consumer products to the masses, you don't want controversy. But again, Musk is Musk, goes to the beat of a different drum, and you see, and that's we saw that maybe overshadow a bit in terms of what happened at the New York Times event, the Cybertruck unveiling. That's 4 years in the making. But at the end of the day, Musk will continue to, I think, innovate, and especially when it comes to Cybertruck, a historical moment.
What did you think about what happened this week?
I think it's one where it's the last thing you want to see as a Tesla bull, to see something like that come and ultimately overshadow what was going to be Cybertruck. But as we all know, Musk is Musk. And it goes back to what we've talked about a lot in the show. When he bought Twitter, the $44 billion mistake, in my opinion, which now, let's say X is worth $5 to $8 billion. This is always the worry. It just adds that tornado factor. Because with Musk, if you give him a mic, you never know what's going to happen.
Sure.
And that's part of the problem here. And even though many could say, it's great, go get him. Okay, but there's a business there. It's been essentially taken out with debt. So eventually that you're going to have to pay someone in terms of what's happened with X.
I think you just put a Dan Ives multiple on X there with that valuation, but we'll come back to that another time. I want to talk about margins just a little bit more. There's a massive opportunity, if you didn't have this truck, to keep on pushing and squeezing Ford and GM. GM have come out with numbers this week, basically telling us that the labor market contract, the labor contract, would add an additional $575 per vehicle. At Ford, it's upwards of $900. Does this truck complicate their effort to really put the squeeze on Ford and GM in the way they have done over the last year?
I think it does a little, because ultimately, when you look at the UAW debacle and the 313 error code, it's put it's put back against the wall. And that adds to the cost. I think where they're going to squeeze them continues to really be on that 40 to 50K price points in terms of sedans. That's what they're going after. But that's also why Mary, and you've seen it from Farley as well, they're kind of coming back a little from the edge, not maybe going full EV, where Tesla's actually going the opposite. And that's essentially what's happening right now. This is all a game of high-stakes poker. And I think everyone's trying to figure out what Musk's next move is in 2024.
And who it's catered to. I mean, that's another question, too, because the audiences of Ford and GM much more focused domestically, whereas Elon Musk has a big audience in China as well. How much is the Cybertruck geared toward American buyers, and how much is it geared toward international buyers?
Yeah, and Lisa, that's a great point, because look, China, the hearts and lungs of the Tesla growth story, it is in China, 45% of demand. And I think what really he's focused on here with Cybertruck, it's, first of all, it's showing from an innovation technology perspective just how far they are, but the opportunity, even though it's starting in the US, it is international. It's Europe, it's China, and I think that's really the global focus of Tesla. You look at Ford, there's many that have kind of customers fought against going toward an EV. I'm a traditional F-150, I'm not going to go there. Dealers have fought against it,
yes,
and they've heard it loud and clear in Detroit.
Do you think it's attractive?
Look, the Mad Max vehicle, and I remember when you talked about that in 2019, I think we talked about that together. I believe, I get it, it's on the edge, but I think it's innovative, it's new, and it's something where Tesla is not going to go down the typical path of other automakers. And that's why, like, look, when I see you driving this in New York about 6-9 months from now.
TK in the passenger seat.
TK in the passenger
Amazing.
seat. It's with Cybertruck, it's going to be
Can you take
awesome.
the roof off? The roof come off?
But you could be in the back as well. So it's going to be super interesting.